I am Charles Israel, a life member of the governing board of the South Carolina Academy of Authors. I'm here today as representative of the board to celebrate Sarah June Goldstein, the first recipient of the Mims Talmadge Award for Literary Advocacy in our state. This award was established by the board during our discussions of how to recognize the founders of the Academy, Francis Mims and Paul Talmadge, faculty member and administrator at Anderson College, now Anderson University, began plans for the Academy in 1986. Their vision was to create an organization whose mission would be to foster the rich literary heritage of the state by promoting and celebrating her writers, past and present, and to encourage beginning writers in their artistic pursuits for the future. Last year, the board members looked back at the work of Francis Mims and Paul Talmadge and at the work of the other founders with the goal of honoring their vision. We decided then to celebrate by creating the Mims Talmadge Award in Literary Advocacy to recognize those individuals and organizations who have been instrumental in supporting the state's literary culture by long and continuous service. As we deliberated on the first recipient of the award, we were conscious of setting a stalwart example of exemplary service to the state's literary culture. The name that rose immediately was the name we honor today as our first recipient, Sarah June Goldstein. Tom Johnson, my fellow life member of the board, could not be with us today, but Tom has written an introduction to Sarah June that will testify to her uncommon devotion to the literary culture of our state. I would like to read Tom's words. This is what he wrote. Sarah June, all of us are delighted that you have been selected as the first recipient of the Mims Talmadge Award. Beyond the community of authors themselves and formal scholastic circles, no one in South Carolina has advocated for the entire literary enterprise in the state over the past 4 years more than you have. For more than 30 years, a generation, you spent a career recognizing our writers and promoting the literary arts. Then later, as senior coordinator of the statewide partnerships with the South Carolina Arts Commission, your portfolio expanded to include the works of other artists and art communities around the state. Specifically, your endeavors and accomplishments in the field of the literary arts started when you began your career with the South Carolina Arts Commission in 1987 as project coordinator for Carolina Connections, that landmark national literary festival celebrating more than 100 writers who had connections to South Carolina. After that stellar beginning, you became a full-time member of the Arts Commission staff and program director for the literary arts. Here are some highlights of your work. The establishment of the South Carolina Novel Prize, the Arts in Basic Curriculum Project, the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor Partnership, the South Carolina Literary Arts Partnership. The secret of the success of these initiatives and many more seem to lie in your unique ability to bring people and resources together to share expertise, and enthusiasm. For one organization in particular, you have had a major impact. That organization is the South Carolina Academy of Authors. We were engaged in the same goal, Tom writes, that of expanding the literary consciousness of our state. In sum, the existence and success through our decades together is due in no small part to your partnership with us, professionally and personally. One of my favorite quotations, used on the literary map of South Carolina that we created together, Sarah June, in 2003, with you as a consultant, is that statement by Francis Lieber, the 19th century writer, who wrote this: "The book and the library have always sprung forth where civilization of a higher order has shown itself." Sarah June, you have helped those books spring forth by your career in literary advocacy for our state. We know that our founders, Francis Mims and Paul Talmadge, would have been delighted, as we are, to see you honored as the first recipient of the award that bears their name. Thank you, Sarah June, for your wonderful work and your marvelous self. On behalf of the governing board of the South Carolina Academy of Authors, it gives me great pleasure to present the first Mims Talmadge Award for Literary Advocacy to Sarah June Goldstein.
Thank you so much. It is lovely. Thank you, Charles. Well, thank you, Charles. And thanks to Tom Johnson and to the entire South Carolina Academy of Authors board. Charles, the call from you about my being selected by the Academy Board to be the first recipient of the Mims Talmadge Literary Advocacy Award is one that I'll remember always with a great deal of humility. The South Carolina Academy of Authors has been for me the organization that inspires and supports the richness and significance of South Carolina's literary arts heritage and its present vitality and visibility. I'm really honored beyond words to accept this inaugural award. One of the great rewards of my job at the South Carolina Arts Commission has been coming to know South Carolina authors and the remarkable range and brilliance of their work. I'm deeply grateful to my visionary leaders and colleagues at the Arts Commission who supported and encouraged my work with the literary arts in South Carolina for a period of over 30 years. Executive Directors Scott Shanklin Peterson, Susie Serkimer, and Ken May. I must mention also Steve Lewis, my mentor, collaborator, and dear friend. As the first literary arts director at the Arts Commission, Steve's passion and commitment to South Carolina writers inspired and informed my own work, much of which, of course, was made possible by our superb literary arts partners, who include Randy Akers and T.J. Wallace at SC Humanities, Betsy Teeter and her team at the Hub City Writers, and Jim Johnson, director of the South Carolina State Library. Another reason that I'm deeply honored by this inaugural advocacy award is my respect for Francis Mims and Paul Talmadge, for whom the award is named. Co-founders of the Academy of Authors, their contributions and influence are legendary. Together with so many of you, they work to increase the visibility and readership of works by South Carolina writers. Both were educators And they believed that the mission of the Academy was not only to honor the state's outstanding authors and educate the general public about them, but to also encourage young South Carolina writers to develop their talents. This the Academy has achieved. Being named the first recipient of the Literary Advocacy Award is also a great personal honor that I deeply appreciate. It's especially treasured because I've had the privilege and great fun of knowing and working with so many of the Academy board members and inductees. I'll name just a few. Bill Starr, Charlene Swansea, Eleanor Tate, Libby Bernadine, Percival Everett, Josephine Humphreys, Nikki Finney, Marjorie Wentworth, Carrie McCrae Nickens, Brett Lott, Kwame Dawes, and Rhett Jackson. And I'll never forget Carolina Connections, where among many others I met for the first time Alice Childress and Jim Dickey, Ron Rash, Verta Mae Grosvenor, John Edgar Weidman, Paget Powell, John Jakes, and Ntozake Shange. Or the South Carolina Humanities' beloved South Carolina Book Festival that was supported by the state's Literary Arts Partnership, a unique collaboration among a state library, a state arts agency, and a state humanities council. Or the South Carolina Novel Prize, a long-time personal goal of mine, and a one-of-a-kind national publishing model. I'm excited that my work supporting literacy in South Carolina continues as Executive Director of the Right to Change Foundation, which was founded by my mother and brother, Dixie Goswami and Rocky Gooch, in 1994. Our mission is to provide learning and leadership opportunities for youth and their adult mentors who use literacy and the arts to encourage social change and equity. And I continue to partner with the South Carolina Arts Commission by serving as an advisor to the agency's Art of Community Rural SC initiative, created and led by Susan Duplessis. The program provides engagement with grassroots leaders and artists in rural South Carolina, including talented young poets and writers. The Literary Advocacy Award itself will inspire and encourage others to contribute to achieving the extraordinary mission and vision of the South Carolina Academy of Authors. Thank you so much.